Yo, what is going on, my fellow weebs? Chrono here, and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be talking about the fact that apparently Skylla is bugged, or is getting nerfed, sort of. There's more to the story, but we'll go into that in just a moment. If you're new here, as always, my name is Chrono. I primarily cover PSO2 content. Would much appreciate a subscribe as we work right towards that 10K mark, hopefully, by the end of this year. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into this. So shout out to mock_NGS who posted about this over on X, or I would not have even seen this, to be perfectly honest. I need to make a habit of going to the site basically every single day at this point, just in case anything new pops up, because I had completely finished all my content and was about to take a nap when this actually popped up. So nice. Anyway, apparently there is a downward revision in the works for Skylla. So let's talk about that and maybe talk about what exactly is the reason behind all of this. So this went up at 6 o'clock this morning. Balance adjustments for the special armament Mars Skylla main armament. We've confirmed that canceling the weapon action of the special armament Mars Skylla main armament by performing an action such as sidestep after holding down the weapon action button inflicts a high amount of damage for a certain period of time. Following a review by the dev team, we've determined that there is a need to make balance adjustments, including downward revisions, because of the large difference in damage inflicted by the method mentioned above compared to other attack methods and armaments, and the impact this will have, on future game balance. I'm really bad at reading this. I'm gonna read it again. Following a review by the dev team, we've determined that there is a need to make balance adjustments, including downward revisions, because of the large difference in damage inflicted by method mentioned above compared to other attack method and armaments, and the impact it will have on future game balance adjustments. This issue was not identified in advanced play tests and checks. We apologize for any inconvenience it may have caused. The following balance adjustments will be made in the next update. And then the balance adjustments will be, once the attack starts, it can no longer be canceled using a sidestep, jump, or weapon action, which we'll show in just a moment, and increase potency. So a few things here I actually wanted to talk about. First and foremost, a lot of people got really upset, I guess, when I talked about how strong Hydra is, which I'm not going to not say this. It is still very strong, not even just Hydra laser, but Hydra in itself is still very powerful. Granted, it's not the most powerful combination or most powerful weapon to use off the rip, but because of its use cases between its laser that it can charge with its weapon action, as well as just like its regular laser left click, which is very, very, very usable in a lot of situations, it does tend to be one of the strongest weapons that you can choose to use as things stand. Now, granted, the laser can be used all over the place and it can be interrupted very quickly. And in current fights, we have the ability to make use of that and to abuse its extra damage, because we've gone from only really optimal groups skipping phases to being able to just flat out skip phases in random pug groups. if you know what you're doing, for the most part, maybe one or two of you know what you're doing as far as setup goes, and in pugs, people are skipping phases now in some of these fights. Granted, I expected this to happen when it came out. I quite literally said when this comes out, it likely will break some things, or it's going to not really be balanced around it specifically, and future fights likely will be. This is going to happen. This is fairly normal. But people took it as like, oh my God, nerf Hydra, it's way too powerful. That's not what I'm saying in the slightest. SEGA very rarely nerfs anything. And as you can see, even in a situation where they said downward revision is necessary, they effectively buffed it. They just got rid of the ability to cancel it. And unless this is like a mistranslation, they're saying they buffed the damage. So now you're locked into it, but it's supposed to do more damage. Maybe they nerfed it. It's possible this is a mistranslation. Keep that in mind. So, you know, those of you guys on the JP side, feel free to let me know. But yeah, they don't nerf anything, guys. They're gonna buff everything else to match this. That's how they usually do things. Unless it's like really egregious where they couldn't buff everything, they usually just buff everything else to match the power of other things, not nerf it. So I don't know where people got the idea that I wanted them to nerf Hydra or anything along those lines. I was simply speaking to how powerful certain combinations of things are and how useful they can be. And I'm gonna show you guys here really quick exactly how that works. So we're going to go in first with Hydra, or I'm sorry, with Skylla, and you can have Hydra on the blade. We're going to go with Skylla. You can kind of see exactly how this works. So I'll be honest, because I don't have people's effects always turned on. I don't see all of this stuff, and it wasn't something that was brought to my attention sooner. I mean, this might be news for a lot of people, but I wasn't aware of this until this article, and until we saw the post till this article came up. So what I found is that when you fully build up Skylla, which I'll build up now here really quick. All right, so when you have Skylla fully built up and you're ready to go into your laser, before you start using the laser, you can cancel out of it with either a jump or a dash. I'll show you what that looks like. It's actually at the point where you're able to go ahead and start building up the laser, you can cancel out of the ability. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, starting the laser gives you the retaliation effect that you would get by doing the entire laser, essentially, meaning you're doing a bit more damage. I imagine that's what they mean by increased damage at that time, specifically. Now, is this the most powerful option you can use? Not really, no. Actually, if you are playing in an optimal, like super optimal situation, Garm Nidhogg can push out more damage. However, if someone else is using Nidhogg for you already, and they're using Garm Nidhogg, then you're gonna get a massive amount of damage, right? So let's say we do this again, we're gonna hold weapon action, and before we start the laser, we can cancel it out, and now we can go right back into our damage again. Now, why would you wanna do that? Well, because it actually is more damage for you to go right back into doing damage like this again than it is for you to actually utilize the full laser. Even if you're invulnerable doing it, right? Like you're invincible during that laser, you're not gonna get knocked out of it or anything along those lines. You're good to go. It's still better for you to actually just cancel out of using your laser. So when it's time, you can just do this and go right back into your damage. And you see, like, we're slowly climbing back up on damage. For Skylla, at the very least, this is the most damage you can do, is by doing things like this. Like, you just keep going and going and going. And every time it's time for a laser, you can do this. Now, you also technically can just cancel each one of your weapon actions. So you could just do the cancel the weapon action over and over again, even if you don't have it fully built up, but it's not really worth it. Because you never build up enough to get the extra damage or the extra hits that you would normally get. So it's better to actually just build up your Starlinks normally. Grab this here really quick and keep going into your damage. Now, again, this isn't the strongest damage that you can do. I think laser actually is a little bit weaker than this, but you can make use of it by just like having this in the background and then, you know, going ahead and canceling it and then just going into your regular attacks, let's say with the other weapon, right? So while this is building up in the background, granted, it will build up faster if you're actively using it, right? Yeah, I accidentally went into it, but you kind of understand the idea. You're able to cancel out of it, and that cancel out is apparently doing more damage than is intended, and they're going to be essentially stopping it by making it so you can no longer cancel out as if you had fully started the laser, essentially. So pretty cool stuff. I'm actually going to show you guys the how much damage you can actually do with the other combinations and why it's like, why this essentially is, I guess, a problem for them where the other combinations aren't, because as you can see, this is very easy to do. Like, you don't have to stand still. Like, the only thing you have to do is just not get hit, which Skylla is very good at not getting hit if you're just trying to avoid taking hits. You basically are consistently mobile, so you can get out of the way of a lot of stuff. But let me grab the other Mars really quick and show you guys how that works out. All right, so here's Hydra. Now, the strength in Hydra comes from the fact that you can precast this, essentially. And a lot of this downtime you can basically skip. And as long as you're not taking any damage, like you're not being interrupted, you can basically just kind of do this infinitely. There's no PP cost or anything along those lines. And like I said, if you set this up properly, you can basically put yourself in a position where you're able to skip this this huge downtime, right? Like, say the target's about to be vulnerable. You can just go ahead and set yourself up, and then as soon as they become vulnerable, because you can hold this laser, right? You don't have to shoot it immediately. You can hold it and then just blast it away. As you can probably see, this is doing way more damage than the other setup, right? Well, yeah, that's because it requires you not to take any hits whatsoever. You can't, like, you basically, if something just sneezes in your general direction, you're going to be knocked out of this. So you're not going to be able to maintain spamming this over and over and over and over and over again. But it is still very strong if you can get away with doing it. Let's say, for example, you're playing on the outskirts and your target isn't super mobile. Now, keep in mind, a mobile target can dodge your laser. So it's not really as worth it. But this is one of those option setups that ends up being stronger than the other choice. And let's go ahead, and there you go. It's dead. It was like 27k DPS, pretty ridiculous. Let's go ahead and look at the other combination. All right, so this is the Garm Nidhogg combo. This one is a bit more sustainable, but also not really. So we're gonna go ahead and do this. What we're doing is just looping 2 sets of skills. So we're doing hold Garm for 2 hits, hold Nidhogg for 1, and then the second let go, And on this third one, we're going to go ahead and get to the white level of this. I totally messed it up. I'm going to shut up this time, and I'm just going to do the combo. And yeah, because I can't speak. I'm going to tell you guys what's going to happen first, and then we'll do it. Let me detonate this really fast. There we go. Cool. And then can I just get rid of this? Hang on. We'll just use it. Yeah, well, okay, perfect. Awesome. So I'm not going to talk anymore. I'm just going to show you guys the combo. Basically, what we're going to do is you're doing 2 charged Garm hits into 2 held Nidhogg attacks, and the second one being the chainsaw. We let go to let it go through all the way through, and then we go back and loop into this. We'll do this 3 times. On the 3rd time, my mark will turn white. It'll become level 2. We'll do 1 more Garm 2 hit into a held weapon action on Nidhogg and held weapon action on Garm for a massive amount of damage. And I'm going to reset the instance so you guys can see the damage on a fresh target. All right, let's try that again. To Nidhogg and Garm again. Back into Nidhogg and the Garm combo a 3rd time. Into Nidhogg, this should turn white. 1 more Garm combo, held weapon action again, reset, and then go back into it again. As you can see, this does more damage, right? It's doing more damage than the combo I showed you with Skylla, but it's not doing more damage than what I showed you with Hydra, right? This is more usable, technically speaking. However, as you can see, we have 1 HP. Meaning, if something just sneezes in our general direction, we're screwed. This combo has no healing whatsoever involved in it. So it is very powerful. As you can see, 15k DPS. However, it's not that sustainable, as in, like, if you get hit at all, you're basically dead. It's good to use as kind of like burst damage. If you don't have enough time to get out a full Hydra, maybe you can just do some max damage with that if you can get that full rotation. But in most cases, if you can get that full rotation, you would have been able to get a Hydra laser. So it's totally up to you how you go about that process. This is basically the strongest combination you can use for just bossing, but as you can see, it's very, very weak when it comes to the defensive department. You basically have to either rely on your guard frames, or occasionally you're going to have to mix in some normal attacks. What I would probably recommend would be at the point before, like when you're doing the last held normal Garm, do just regular swipes until you get to max, and then go into your combination, like your finisher attacks with your held weapon action on Nidhogg and Garm. So those end up being really strong as well. But as you can see, there's one big fatal flaw. You can still die. So comparatively to the Skylla setup, where you're just spamming and you're mostly safe, in the Hydra setup, you can be interrupted, so you may not be able to get the damage. And in the Garm Nidhogg setup, you're very close to death consistently. You cannot maintain that. And if you have to drop that extra bit of attack, you're going to do about as much damage, if not a little bit less, than the Skylla setup. So it's probably why they're making this difference. Now, granted, there might be some other tech that I'm not understanding or that I don't know in the mix that makes Skylla do even more damage. You could have some combination you're doing with Hydra or something along those lines. I'm not 100% sure, but it is worth mentioning that that is what they're changing. They're making it so you can no longer cancel it. There is that cancel window, but it's not going to be cancelable in the future anymore. But let me know what you guys think. Let me know if there's anything I missed. I'm curious if you guys happen to have any like footage of you guys doing some crazy stuff when it comes to damage with Skylla. I'd love to see it, and I'd love to post it at least in a link in this video. That way, you know, some people have a reference as to why they're making this adjustment. And keep in mind, they're not just nerfing things, guys. They're going to just bring everything up. SEGA buffs everything. They very rarely nerf things. They usually overly buff in most cases. So that's usually where the concern comes in a lot of situations. Again, there have been some nerfs here and there, but it's mostly getting buffs. So you guys will likely see buffs for other weapons and things of that sort. I personally feel like Garm's healing should probably be its max healing on its normal attacks all the time, not when it's full or when it's near full on its overcharge. I feel like that's kind of lame. And it makes it a lot more sustainable if it were to work that way, in my opinion, at least from a damage and a defensive perspective. But that's all I've got for you guys today. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you want to keep up with more. Thanks to the channel members. You guys are fantastic. And I didn't mention this. Actually, it depends on what order I decide to release these videos, because I have a ton of them that I'm working on at the moment. But I want to start doing a question of the video itself for those of you guys who watch all the way over to the end. So in one of my other videos, I asked about, or previously I asked about what anime you guys are watching. So I'm curious, what do you guys do for your downtime between gaming? Like, what do you like to do? If it's something non-gaming related, are you someone who draws? Are you someone who likes to do arts and crafts stuff? Do you like to tinker with things? Do you like to build things? Are you someone who likes to just go out and work out? What is it? What is that thing that you do that isn't gaming or like show related? I'm curious to see that in the comments below. And again, you don't have to share anything you don't feel like. It's totally fine, but it's just something extra for those of you guys who watch my videos all to the end. For me, I just spend a lot of time with my cat. I spend time with my cat, and I'm a fan of tinkering. So I like building stuff when I'm not forced into building things, but like messing around with computers and things like that is something I've always enjoyed. Haven't done a whole lot of it recently because I don't have a lot of time to do it recently, but I feel like I'm gonna start having more time, so we'll start messing around with that a bit more. Anyway, I've rambled on long enough. Thanks for watching. Take care, my friends. Peace out.